I'm going to go back away from the technical part, talk about Parsl sustainability a little bit and where we are, where we're trying to get to, and maybe what issues we see coming. So we have external stakeholders like direct users, people that are using Parsl for science, platform developers, CI providers, linked contributors, people that are building stuff that's going to work with Parsl and they need Parsl to be successful for their stuff to work or to get more users for their stuff, and funders. And so we've got kind of all these different people that are interested in Parsl, and they're interested in for different reasons. And some of them are providing things that help Parsl, and some of them are using Parsl in some ways. So when we started off, we had this this NSF award for really 5 years, but we stretched it to 6. And that award helped us grow through 2022, maybe 2023, the beginning of 2023. And during that period, we went from basically no code to version 1, and then to weekly releases. And those weekly releases are mostly maintenance as opposed to adding new features during that time. So again, we basically built something and kind of got it into a functioning state, and then stopped doing a lot of new development and mostly moved to maintenance, although not exactly. We had a development team that was somewhere between 2 and 4 people a year. And where we are now with the current NSF award and the CZI award, as well as contributions from projects, enables us to support about 1 FTE a year of maintenance and development and about half an FTE a year of community management. And what we really want to be able to do is balance the resources that we have and the work that we need to do. So the resources, again, in some sense, are the grants, the external funding from projects, the volunteer effort that comes from some of you, and activities that come from companies as well, and Parallel Works in particular. On the other side, we've got the work that we need to do, which is managing the community, reviewing contributions, fixing bugs, supporting users, developing some new features, releasing new versions. And the kind of issue in some sense, the reason that this doesn't completely balance, is that the volunteer resources and the resources that we have can kind of help add features, and they can support some use cases, but it doesn't really coordinate well enough to fully support kind of this core work of managing the community and reviewing all the contributions and fixing all the bugs, particularly over multiple years. So when we were looking at this in these proposals, we created this graph, which shows basically, sorry, let me do this so I can see better. It showed basically that we were doing a lot of development initially, and then that development hopefully was going to go down and stay fairly low. That maintenance was also going to go down, but not as fast as development. User support would also hopefully go down. I'm not quite sure why we were thinking that. And the number of users would be going up, and the kind of R&D would also be going up. So we're basically in this period now with these awards, and we're going to be ending these awards soon, and then we get into this period where we have to figure out how do we actually keep things going. So what we said we were going to do was to follow the path of AstroPi and YT and a bunch of other projects that have been sustained over some reasonably long period. We'd work on community building, on governance, on funding streams, on innovation, training, and outreach and engagement. We'd work with other related communities, other people working on software sustainability, other people working on workflows. And we would capture and document and share what we learned in this project. And we'd also reduce technical debt from the point of view that if we can make it easier to maintain the code and have less bugs that we need to fix, then there's less work that we need to do from that point of view. I would say we're actually doing most of these, with the exception of this capture, document, and share sustainability lessons. We haven't done as well as we thought because we're not doing a great job of tracking our own effort, because we kind of didn't figure out a great way to do that, unfortunately. But the other things we are actually trying to do. And so the issue, again, at kind of a high level, is that the work that we're doing now is changing to some extent. So on the development work side, we have this kind of maintenance and outreach and support that's different from early in the project, where we're doing lots of new development. And so we need a different kind of contributions. And so this development is maintaining the code base, adding more tests, improving quality, responding to issues, supporting deployment on different resources, reviewing contributed code. I mean, this is basically a lot of what Ben was talking about at the beginning. And then on the community side, we've got the idea that we hope that people in the community, like people here, will help do some of this community work. And this does happen to some extent, and I've tried to order these things according to where community contributions actually happen. So I think we get good help in answering user code, user questions, for example. We get good help in sharing configs for specific platforms. Reasonable in applying Parsl to different disciplines. But then kind of as we get down further to like managing social media and advertising success stories and blogs, we don't get as much there, and we need somebody here that actually can do those things. So the point really here is that we have a community manager now, Sophie, who's doing some of these things and hoping that other people here are doing other ones. And we'd like to kind of encourage people to think about as whatever of these you can do will help us and will help Parsl stick around and be here for a while. So where we are now, I think we've got good news, community growth, partly because of Sophie as community manager, partly because all of you talking to your colleagues and developing tools and other things is really good. Lots of users, you'll hear lots of talks here, and then there's a bunch of people who aren't here that are also users, which is great. Parsl code has gotten better. I think Ben's work has really been extremely helpful. Moving to more plugins to reduce what the core code has to do, removing code that isn't used, and more and better tests, I think are all helpful. But then on the less good news side, we have, how do we actually sustain this kind of core work that's not what everybody in the community is going to volunteer, but somebody still has to do? And that's the question I think that we have as we get towards the end of these two grants in the next 9 months or so. So if there are ideas that anybody has on these things, this would be great. I think one of the things that we can certainly do is apply for more grants, but at some point that kind of thought maybe runs out, or we keep going to different grant organizations, but whether or not that's successful or not, I don't know. So we're kind of at a point where we're sustainable in a lot of ways, but there's still a bit of a core that we're not quite there yet at. And that's I think the challenge that I want to kind of leave and see what ideas people have. And then just some acknowledgement. So thank you.